Hello BookTube, hello YarnTube, hello YouTube, hello you. How are you today? Are you having a good day? I am recording this video. I've set myself up for a previous video which I did a question and answer. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to do a video that was requested a couple of months ago, and it was requested by Emma, who is a regular commenter. And we chat in the comments quite regularly, and she said, could you talk about the books, some of the spiritual books that you have read and that you would recommend? So I have quite a good selection of books that I would class as either religious or you would find in the mind, body, spirit section of your local bookshop. And I've read these kind of books for years and years and years. There are ones that I keep returning to, or the ones that have made a big impact in my life, and I've pulled out a few here. I would say I probably have a couple of hundred, maybe 300-400 of those kind of books. Some of them you read from cover to cover. Some of them you dip in and out of as and when you're called to read them. And some of them you reread at times, again, because perhaps you're called to read them. I have a passionate longing and interest and desire to know more when it comes to the spiritual life and the religious life, and so I have read around the subject, and I find things stimulating and comforting and have impacted my life in various ways, and so I offer them to you just as a little selection that you might find interesting. It's not a comprehensive list. We would be here for hours and hours and hours, and it still wouldn't be a comprehensive list. I'm also not going to talk about any religious books, so I'm not going to talk about the Bible or the Quran or any of the religious texts that I have read, because I think there are people that know far more about them than myself, and I would suggest that they would be the people to turn to rather than me. So I would say I'm just a passionate seeker is how I would describe myself, and these are the books that I have found along the way. So Emma, I hope this helps. Anybody else that's watching it, I hope you enjoy it too. So the first one I'm going to talk about this is Taz Thornton's Whispers from the Earth. It's teaching stories from the ancestors, beautifully woven for today's spiritual seekers. Now I'm going to come out and say straight away that I know Taz very, very well. I do a spiritual study with her. I'm in a circle with her where we sit in circle, as in the pagan traditions. And she is one of my 3 o'clock in the morning people, and I love her passionately. Her and her wife will always be in my life. So I'm come up straight. Of course, I know the people that were. There are other people that contributed stories for this, and I know them as well. But it doesn't take away from the impact that this book has had. So my husband has read it as well, because he's a spiritual seeker as well, and he's read it and have actually read stories of this to Benedict, because they are those medicine stories that speak to you where you are at that moment, and you hear what you need to hear. And they are profound. They are not long stories, and they cover all different points, but they are... People felt that they didn't actually write them, they were channeled through them, and it felt that they came from their ancestors, and there were stories that were from their souls. So they're incredibly powerful, incredibly impactful, and beautiful stories for now and for all time. So that's Taz Thornton's Whispers from the Earth. So I really, really recommend that. This was a book that the husband actually bought me and said, I think you'd really enjoy reading this, and it's called The Book by Alan Watts, on the taboo against knowing who you are. So Alan Watts was a Buddhist teacher, writer. He was part of the counterculture in the 1960s and 70s in America. He still has a huge impact on the world today in the kind of spiritual teaching world. This is a book from Independent Voices, and it's called The Book, and it really shakes you up, and it shakes up who you think you are. So I really recommend this. It's it is quite a divisive book. There are some people that read it and loathe it, but I found it fascinating. Now, I don't tend to mark books. However, looking through this, I have highlighted or written in this book as almost part of a discussion with Alan Watts. I found this a really good book, so I recommend that. Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. If you're interested in kind of spiritual thinking, metaphysics, she is a modern day speaker. I have seen her speak quite a few times from when she's come to London. I've gone down to London and seen her. And in the flesh, when she's actually there talking, it is a profoundly visceral experience, because she is so passionate and doesn't feel that she has the answers, but feels that she has ways for you to find the answers that are affecting your life. So this is Reflections on the Principles of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is a book that I have down here. That is A Course in Miracles. And this was published by the Foundation of Inner Peace, and it was a channeled work. And it is a way about how to bring miracles in your life and a way of living your life. It is written in Christian terms with a Buddhist and Jewish sensibility, as well as a spiritual sensibility. It's a fascinating book. You could study this for the rest of your life and still feel that you need more. You need more people to know about it, and people do. People study this all the time. This is an introduction by Marianne Williamson into it, and so it's distilling some of the principles that she feels are powerful. And I have reread this quite a few times, and every time I read it, I get something else from it. Something else stops me in my tracks, or reminds me of who I am. So, Marianne Williamson, I am an utter fangirl of Marianne Williamson. I will say, she's one of those people that can strike me dumb just by walking in the room. She's amazing. So, I gush over you. I have quite a few of her books. This was a book that was actually recommended to me by Taz, and it's called Call of the Great Spirit, by Bobby Lake Tom, and it's the shamanic life and teachings of Medicine Grizzly Bear, and it is exactly what it says. So he is a traditional native healer and spiritual teacher of Karak, Seneca, Cherokee and Caucasian descent, and it is the shamanic life and teachings that he has tried to distill. So it's a fascinating book, and if you're interested in the shamanic principles in shamanism in any way, shape or form, then this is a phenomenal book to read, and will give you an insight into that way of life from a Native American perspective, or is it a First Nations perspective? So that's what I say. I'm a girl from Cambridge, but there are still things that I can learn when reading that. And the last book is something that's had a profound effect on my life. And although I don't follow the teachings in a direct way, it has had a profound effect on my life reading this book and the body of work that comes from Seth. And this is called The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts. And this is a channeled piece. And it's it's in the Seth series by Jane Roberts. And this was the first one that I ever read, The Nature of Personal Reality. It isn't the easiest read, and there are other books that I could recommend, like the Seth material by Jane Roberts. But out of all of the books that I have read by Jane Roberts that are in the Seth series, this is the one that had the greatest impact on me, and this is the one that I always turn to. And I could probably reread this for the rest of my life and still not. And it is similar to a Course in Miracles. It's a way of expanding your horizons, or expanding your idea of who you are and what consciousness is. Now, I understand that there will be people that will be watching this that follow other religious principles or have a different way of life. And as far as I'm concerned, you will have literature that will affect you and how you live your life and stuff like that. So I just offer this as a collection of books that I have found interesting, insightful, impactful, enjoyed, returned to, made me think, made me question, enjoyed, has shaken me. They're not the easiest, and I could do another 100. But these are the ones that I found quite interesting, that I would say. So there we go. So that's my little collection of some spiritual books that I have read and enjoyed. And I hope there may be a book there that calls to you that you might find interesting. And Emma, I hope that was all right. Let me know how you think. And if you've got any further questions, then let me know and we can always have a chat. All right, there we go. There we go, BookTube. There we go, YarnTube. There we go, YouTube. That is the video that I am going to do today. And I look forward to speaking to you in the comments and seeing you on another day. Bye.